All right, I would like to welcome everybody to the Norwood City School District Board of Education regular board meeting for Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. The Norwood City School District Board of Education follows a bi-monthly meeting schedule. The first meeting of the month is called our committee meeting. At this meeting, we discuss fully our agenda for the board meetings to be held the third Thursday of each month. I do realize this is not the third Thursday, but we had a conflict in schedule, so thank you all for accommodating. As board members, we encourage you to attend, watch, and listen to our committee discussions, which results in action at the board meetings. For full disclosure, our committee meetings and board meetings are always announced, audio and videotaped, as well as posted to our webpage for your review. All of our meetings are public, and visitors are always welcome. Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood.
Present.
Mrs. Cole.
Present.
Ms. Ballard. Present. Mrs. Rarica.
Present.
Mr. Taylor.
Present.
With all members present, I would like to ask everyone to please stand and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Before we get the bulk of the meeting underway, we do have a couple of housekeeping items. The first item of housekeeping is the adoption of tonight's agenda. I would like to make a motion that we adopt tonight's agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. President, I'd like to motion that we move item 9, which is public comment, up in the agenda and to spot number 3 after we do our Rising Stars presentation. We do have some members of the public that would like to address us tonight, and out of respect of their time, I think we could move that section up.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion to that? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood.
Yes?
Mrs. Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Ballard. Yes. Mrs. Rarica.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Now, may I have a motion to approve our amended agenda?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Ballard. Yes. Mrs. Rarica.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
All right, with our agenda approved, we'll move on to the other housekeeping items. We have items 1.05, 1.06, 1.07. These are the minutes for the regular board meeting held on October 20th, the minutes for the Finance Committee meeting held November 8th, and the minutes for the committee meeting held also on November 8th. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented to us.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Ballard. Yes. Mrs. Rarica.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
With that approved, that concludes our housekeeping items of the night. We'll move on to section 2 on our agenda, which is presentations, and we have this month's Rising Stars.
Thank you, President Atwood. Mr. Miller and I are very pleased to present to you tonight the Rising Stars for the month of November. So when I call your name, we'd like you to come forward and stand right in front where it's still carpeted right there so that we can recognize you properly and take some pictures and shake some hands of some board members. So when I call your name, please come forward and be recognized. We are going to start with our Rising Star student. Norwood View Elementary Rising Star student for November is Miguel Cruz. So if Miguel is here tonight, please come forward. If not, we're going to read these wonderful things about Miguel. The 5th grade team would like to nominate Miguel Cruz to be our Rising Star for the month of November. Miguel is a special student who stands out in a big way. He is considerate of everyone in our school and is always polite and courteous. He models great behavior in class. Miguel is a friend to everyone and a PAX leader. Furthermore, he is highly inventive and creative and has an excellent array of stories and insights that he enjoys sharing with others at school. Miguel is determined to take on new challenges. He keeps up with school events and is always prepared. He uses constructive feedback to improve his performance and to improve himself. Every day, Miguel strives to do his personal best and to be a role model for other students at Norwood View Elementary. Congratulations, Miguel.
Williams Avenue Elementary School's Rising Star student for November is Joshua Cole. First grader Joshua Cole comes into our classrooms each and every day with the most positive attitude and smile on his face. He's a young man that gets along with everyone and is a friend to all. Joshua exudes a quiet demeanor in class. He is never afraid to ask questions or help others. He comes in ready to learn each day. He turns in his homework and reads every night. Joshua remembers every schedule and routine that we have in class. He doesn't let his teacher forget a thing. An example of this, he reminds the teacher that guessing jar is on Thursday, our math sprints are on Tuesday and Thursday, and he certainly does not let his teachers forget our good morning greetings. Joshua is a role model to others, and when directions are given, he is one of the first to follow. We are lucky to spend the day with this wonderful and respectful young man. Thank you for your hard work and dedication, Joshua.
The Norwood Montessori School's Rising Star student for November is Josephine Alvarez Despard. The Norwood Montessori School is proud to share that Josephine is our November Rising Star. Josephine is a kind-hearted first grader who exemplifies our core beliefs in Montessori, taking care of ourselves, all living things, and the environment. She is willing to help others in our classroom by showing them how a work is to be completed, tying their shoes, or modeling expected behavior. Josephine has also offered to teach lessons to students who have needed them and does an outstanding job. We love having Josephine as part of our Montessori family.
Norwood Middle School's Rising Star student for November is Liam Gotze. Liam Gotze is our 6th grade Rising Star for this month. Liam continues to work hard in school and is a great role model. He completes all of his work to his best level and even pushes himself to get more practice on difficult topics. Liam is a role model because he is always doing the right thing and willing to help others. At home, he is a big help to his family by being so responsible and easygoing with his younger siblings. Liam is an asset to our 6th grade team this year. Keep up the great work and continue to be a rising star, Liam.
Norwood High School Rising Star student for November is Rebecca Canada. Norwood High School is proud to recognize 9th grade student Becca Canada as our November Rising Star. She truly embodies what it means to show Norwood pride each and every day. Becca was described by her teachers as a vibrant, energetic, and kind to all. Academically, she always strives to reach her full potential and loves to learn. She is enrolled in honors courses and AP courses this year. She always participates in class and is willing to help her peers and rises to the challenging curriculum at Norwood High School. She serves as a class officer and participates in the silhouettes. She's looking forward to playing softball in the spring. Clearly, Becca Canada is a rising star. We are proud of her and look forward to watching her reach her goals of becoming a kindergarten teacher. Congratulations, Becca.
The athletic Rising Star student for November is Miss London Smith. London is a multiple sport athlete, currently varsity volleyball and varsity basketball. She has already been named MVC Student Athlete of the Week for her efforts on the volleyball court. London is a hard worker in the classroom as well. She earned honor roll in the first quarter with a 3.857 grade point average. She is not just an athlete, as she is active in other clubs and activities in high school. London is only a freshman, but this rising star's future is very bright.
Sharpsburg Elementary and Primary School Stars Rising Student for November is Evan Heppard. Has nominated Evan Heppard for this month's Rising Star at Sharpsburg Elementary. Evan shows up every day with a huge smile on his face. He goes above and beyond to be helpful to all of his peers without prompts from his teachers. He actively participates in classroom discussions and is always eager to learn new things. He is frequently supportive of his classmates and has such a big heart. We are so proud to have Evan with us in second grade. Congratulations, Evan.
The Rising Star staff member for this month is from Williams Avenue Elementary, and that is Miss Tammy Guy. This month's Rising Star staff is a proud 1977 graduate. She has dedicated over 25 years to the service of the district and the Norwood community. Hired as a Norwood High School health aide in 1977, she later became the middle school principal in 2019 and currently serves as a secretary at Williams Avenue Elementary. Not only has Tammy Guy put her own daughters through Norwood schools, but she also positively impacts the lives of hundreds of families and students each day on their journey from elementary to middle and eventually to Norwood High School. It is difficult to capture all the wonderful things that Tammy Guy is and does for her family and the staff and students at the Norwood City School District. In short, she is that person that brings joy, professionalism, hard work, and dedication to everything she is involved in. Tammy Guy is the glue that keeps things going and keeps things together and keeps things going for sure. We are honored to recognize Ms. Tammy Guy as the November Staff Rising Star.
All right, that concludes the Rising Stars. So hold tight for just a second. We want to come around, shake your hands, and get a couple of pictures.
Okay, Ms. Havlin would like to have all of the Rising Stars and their family go out to the lobby and take some more family pictures, if that's okay. So follow Ms. Havlin out to the lobby. Thank you all for being here. We're going to take a short break.
Are we ready to continue? Everybody ready to continue? All right, so we're going to, which section 9 has been moved to between 2 and 3, so we'll call this section 2.5. This is the public participation at board meetings, and we do have four requests to address us. So I'm just going to take a moment to read our public participation policy.
Yeah, it's got to be turned in.
And this is policy BDDH. This policy reads, all meetings of the Board of Education and board-appointed committees are open to the public. In order for the board to fulfill its obligation to complete the planned agenda in an effective and efficient fashion, a maximum of 15 minutes of public participation will be devoted to any one topic unless a majority of the board votes to continue the discussion. Public participation at committee meetings is limited to those invited to speak on specific issues. Each person addressing to the board shall complete a form listing his or her name, address, and the agenda or non-agenda item. If several people wish to speak, each person is allotted 5 minutes until the total time of 15 minutes per topic is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. Persons desiring more time should follow the procedure of the board to be placed on the regular agenda. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board present and voting. Agendas are available to all those who attend board meetings. The section on the agenda for public participation shall be indicated. Noted at the bottom of each agenda shall be a short paragraph outlining the board's policy on public participation at board meetings. The board will not hear personal complaints of school personnel or complaints against any person connected with the district during public hearing times at board meetings. Such concerns and comments about individuals should be brought to the attention of the administration. Please note that the board will not be able to comment on public participation topic or address each participant at this specific time. This does not indicate a lack of concern or a lack of action on behalf of the board. Board members will follow through with the administration and with the individuals as needed. This was approved on July 21st, 2022. We have 2 different items that are being addressed tonight, so there is no issue with the 15-minute rule for 3 speakers, so I think we're all good there. The first person to address us is Mr. Tim Wagers, and his subject is admission policy. So Mr. Wagers, you have 5 minutes, and thank you for coming to address us today.
Don't trip up.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I came to the board tonight to potentially discuss an amendment to the non-resident admission of students. It seems that we have quite a few different exceptions that would allow a non-resident to attend Norwood, some of which being like armed personnel, depending on who has custody, whether or not you're having a house built. I'd like to focus more specifically on Section 7, which would be the student's parent as a full-time employee of the district, and perhaps making a change to that to add the potential of City of Norwood employees being an extension to that same benefit. So I myself, I'm the current tax commissioner and the deputy treasurer for Norwood. I live in Norwood. My daughter attends Norwood. However, we have some of our other employees that kind of struggle commute-wise, trying to make it back and forth with getting their kids to school in their, their districts of residence. So I think it would be, a great benefit for City of Norwood employees to be able to have the option to send their children here if they so wish. That's, let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. Just a blanket amendment, try to give you an idea of what may be fair and what may not, that way we can hopefully offer the same benefit. They get the same great education for the city that they're already, devoting most of their life to. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagers. Next on the agenda to address us tonight is Mr. Stuart Ward, and his subject is athletics. Mr. Ward, thank you for coming tonight to address us.
Thank you.
And you have 5 minutes.
Hopefully it won't take that long. I just wrote a couple things down. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Stuart Ward. My son, his name is Sonny. He's on the football team and baseball team here at Norwood. I want to thank you for your time tonight to express my concern about the Norwood athletics and the future of the program, the football program here at Norwood High School. This past season has not only been disappointing, but quite frankly has raised some serious safety concerns at this point for my son during the season. My son was threatened by other students and has been bullied on social media outlets. This to me is unacceptable being that most of you know that I had to pull my daughter out of the school last year, 2 weeks before school ended, for the same thing of being constantly bullied. My son has done nothing but try to lead by example and putting the team's integrity first, and always left everything on the field. With him doing this, he has been made fun of as a try-hard, bullied, threatened, because he is the one that supposedly didn't want people to come back when they quit, when in all actuality the whole team agreed. For those of you who don't know, I had another daughter that was here last year. She was a senior, had pretty much the same issues with the athletics, where she strived very hard to get to where she's at right now. And again, she was bullied by teammates, classmates, and even parents for working really hard and doing the right thing. You know, right now, we're exploring options to take my son out of the school like I did my daughter. And that's due to the fact that the culture here is not changing. My son had many offers to go to other different schools, and he chose to come here because he had a belief with the prior coach that the culture was going to change. And needless to say, my oldest, it didn't change. My youngest, I had to pull her out of the school system and put her in private school. And now currently I'm about to do the same thing for my son. This not only is going to impact, I believe, some of the football program, but the baseball program, but it's also going to impact myself and my family financially, where you go from public school to private school, which in all actuality probably ended up costing me like $30,000. So it'll change my completely way of life. And I shouldn't have to do this for the safety of my son. And I'm just disappointed, and I just think change needs to happen. So thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. The next person to address us is Mrs. Dawn Hall, and her subject matter is football. Mrs. Hall, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and you have 5 minutes.
Perfect. So my concern is football. I'm going to try to keep it as short and sweet as possible. My son is a freshman. I didn't want to go publicly when I wrote a letter. I wrote it as a concerned parent because I don't want my son to have a target on his back if the current staff comes back. So that was one of my concerns, but here I am because something needs to change. The lack of leadership that the current staff member provided was unacceptable in for many reasons. My son would come home and say this certain coach wasn't at practice, arrived to practice late. There was a time that I had picked up 6 other athletes, and they made a comment that they thought the coach had smelled of marijuana. There was a time my son came home and asked me to wash his practice clothes. It was probably, they started in the middle of the summer. This was like 2 weeks before the first game. He said that some kids in the locker room had some skin infections because their uniforms hadn't been washed. And I said, well, why hadn't you brought it home? He said, Mom, from what the older players told me, it's the coach's responsibility. I don't know if that's true, but that's how it's been in the past, is what I was told from other parents as well. When you talk about, what showed up on one Saturday, my son came home with a wet head, and I said, after films, I said, why is your head wet, buddy? He was like, well, we were waiting for the coach to show up, and other coaches started. We were watching films, they had started, and the coach walked in and said, ice baths for everyone. They stopped right what they were doing, and they went and took ice baths. I don't know why, what, how, but that's what happened. He was, my son said he was about 30 to 40 minutes late when that happened. There were other incidents, obviously, with play calling that I noticed. The quarterback would come to the sidelines for the play. Sometimes when he would run back on the field, there was 10 seconds left on the play clock. This happened for 3 consecutive games, and we would have several penalties each game because of that fact. I don't personally care about winning. What I want is my son to be able to succeed in life. A lot of my personal influences were coaches, and I feel that needs, all across the board, whether, like Mr. Ord was saying, if it's football, soccer, basketball, whatever it is. I don't care about the winning aspect of it. I want him to build that relationship and have that opportunity like everyone else. There was an instance at halftime of a game. I received a text message from my son that said he would like to transfer schools. I'm like Mr. Ward, I'm exploring other options because that's what my son requested, but that is what we may have to do if the culture doesn't change. And that's all I have. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Hull.
Thank you.
And then our last person to address us is Mrs. Jenny Wallace. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And then your subject is Norwood football.
Yeah, I probably don't need that mic. So my concerns are with football. I have been involved in Norwood sports on many different levels for many different years. My grandsons have played football, and I've always volunteered for the Touchdown Club and for doing team dinners and that. I've gone through several head coaches, so I know what it means when a new coach comes in and have to talk with them, let them know what Touchdown Club is and all that. This year when we went to do that, it just seemed like there was a huge communication wall. And it wasn't from the lack of any people on the Touchdown Club attempting to contact the coach and stuff like that. I ended up having to go to a board member to get that board member to help me contact that coach so that we could get things started with a Touchdown Club. We would sponsor team dinners on Thursday nights, from getting donations and all that. Dinners were supposed to be at 5 o'clock. Several of us left work early so that we could do those dinners, and never were they at 5 o'clock. We were never told they were going to be later. So, of course, halfway through the season, we kind of didn't worry about that 5 o'clock and worried about the 5:30 that most of it was happening. The coach rarely ever talked to us. We hardly ever saw him at the team dinners. Those team dinners were always used as a team building experience and for the coaches to talk with the kids, and you just didn't see it. The whole season I sat not only at those dinners and being really frustrated at those kids being there and having this team building ability for their coaches to do with them and show them respect and some leadership. And our kids were never shown any respect, no leadership or anything. That wasn't the only place that I saw it. The people that were volunteering, I don't even care about that part. My part is I'm there for the kids. I expect the kids to be shown respect and leadership when they're out on the field on Friday nights, and it was never there. I could probably sit and count every football game. I got to the point that I was watching kids coming off the field from either good plays or bad plays, and no coaches talking to them, not giving them any, whether it be good encouragement, bad encouragement, or anything. I watched kids come off the field and act unsportsmanlike. I even watched my own grandson do it and throw his helmet. I was right down there on the fence, corrected him, because nobody else did. The Norwood football players deserve respect. They deserve leadership. There was no leadership whatsoever. I'm really curious how many even practices the head coach showed up at. Because I can't tell you how many times I heard, our coach wasn't at any practices this week. No leadership at all. No leadership given to the assistant coaches. I'd sit at halftime, Summit game, sat at halftime. I watched all the kids, half the team was sitting over on the bench. Not one coach over there talking to them. Coach is nowhere to be seen. Coach is not encouraging them when they're playing and everything until the kids scored. And then all of a sudden it was like, there's a coaching staff down there. Our kids were shown so much disrespect, and just the lack of leadership was just appalling to me. Something has to change. I agree with Stuart, and I agree with Dawn that there has to be some kind of change. I've watched a lot of coaches go through Norwood, and I've coached myself. That is not the way our kids should be treated. No one's kids. And y'all have children, and they should all be treated with respect and be given leadership and being taught, and it's not being done. I am so disappointed in that. I just really hope that there is a change that comes about, because the Norwood kids deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wallace. I'd like to thank everyone for their comments. I don't have any other requests to address the board, so that concludes our public comment period. So with that, we'll move back into the agenda schedule. And then we do have section 3, which is personnel, and I'd like to turn the floor over to Superintendent Ronan.
Thank you, President Atwood. In, let me find my page here, 3.01. It is employment, and we would like to welcome Teresa Crew. She's our new student assistant aide at Bobby Fairfax. So we are delighted to have her. In item number 2, we are approving Renisha Barker as the teacher liaison for Avenues for Success at Sharpsburg Elementary. Item number 3 is a stipend for our AD for managing the rental process at Shea. Item number 4, we are increasing the wages for our student workers because it's been many years since they have been increased to, as you can see, $7.25 per hour. We're also approving number 5, our marching band assistant director and our technology specialist. Then in number 6, this section is concerning the hiring of our non-certificated coaches. So we are running pupil activity contracts through for our winter sports and also our silhouettes. And the last part is Avenues for Success. We are hiring 3 additional site managers for our great after-school program. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Ronan. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the employment recommendations as provided to us.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Ballard? Yes. Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mrs. Taylor?
Yes.
With that done, we'll move on to section 4 in our agenda, which is the Education Committee, and I would like to turn the floor over to Board Member Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today's agenda lists 5 different field trips up for approval. First is our silhouettes going to Northern Kentucky University, which is actually a post-event. They just did that this weekend, and they did really well there, so I'm very proud of our silhouettes. Second up is Norwood View's first grade class. They're going to be going to the Great Parks Nature Center. Third is the 6th grade choir performance at Memorial Hall in OTR. Fourth is our high school and middle school Cincy Climb event. And 5th is another silhouettes, and they are doing RSVP for the Loveland Alumni Luncheon. I'd like to motion that we approve all 5 of these field trips as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
All right, with that approved, we'll move on to section 5 in our agenda. This is the policy committee report. I'd like to turn the floor over to Vice President Mrs. Cole.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this month, we have 6 policies and 1 regulation for the first reading. The first policy is BDDG. This has to do with board minutes, and we are adding regularly scheduled to this policy. So currently, it says next meeting, and we're just adding, so it's the regularly scheduled next meeting. EBC, this is Emergency Management and Safety Plan. So this has to do with changes to House Bill 99 and House Bill 123, which affected this policy, and now this work is under the Director of Public Safety. And now our plan will be provided to the Regional Mobile Training Officer upon request. So in this policy, the terminology for what districts are to include in our emergency management plans has increased. There's now references to infectious disease, pandemic, severe weather, threats of violence, or human-caused events. They've added the Ohio Mobile Training Team and the School Safety Crisis Center in this work, and some new components to our work that will turn in with our plan. The superintendent is the lead for this work in the district, and annually will review this and certify the accuracy of the plan. So the board has adopted the State of Ohio Threat Assessment Model Policy and Protocol as the district's plan to comply with House Bill 123. The Threat Assessment Model Policy and Protocols were developed by the Ohio School Safety Center and ODE for use in Ohio schools. Number 3, we have the GBCB. This is staff conduct, just a legal reference there. IGDK, interscholastic extracurricular activities. So we're updating our policy to reflect local additions for GPA requirement. We'll adopt the same minimum requirements as OSHAA, an Ohio Revised Code recommended in academic check-ins and probation throughout the sport. We have KMA, and we also have a regulation to go with this. This is relations with support organizations. So we all know how important relationships are with our support organizations, and in good order to have good working relationships. So we are just kind of combining a couple of things. We've taken the language from both of these policies to show support, and they can use our name and mascot in their work. So we've merged the language of KMB and KMA together to create this policy for use. And then, and as I mentioned, we do have the regulation that goes with that too. This regulation allows for good accounting and management, and for the documents to be sent in to the superintendent or the designee. And the last policy is KMB, relations with booster organization, and we just need to rescind this policy for all of the things that I just said about combining that. So the booster policy will be combined with like our PTO, PTA policy that makes up the new KMA. So we just no longer have use for the KMB. And that concludes my report. And I guess I will motion to approve the first reading of the 6 policies and 1 regulation.
I will second that. Is there any discussion? So as with any policy changes, we do have to go through 2 readings before we adopt any policy changes. So this month will be the first reading for these policies. Next month, we'll have the second reading. If anyone sees anything within these policies that raises a flag that we didn't catch, they have the opportunity to bring them to us so we can address them before the policies become adopted. Any other discussion? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
All right, with that approved, we'll move on to item number 6 in our agenda. This is the Building and Grounds Committee report. I'd like to turn the floor over to Board Member Mrs. Rarica.
Thank you very much. We have 3 requests. One from Summit Country Day School, who would like to use our pool, and they have been doing that for several years now, right? And I'll have to say on that one, we saw the AD of Summit Country Day School this weekend, and he was so appreciative, and it was so nice. He really thanked us for the use of our pool. And I was, wow, thank you, Mr. Whoever you were. It was nice. Also, Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity is requesting use of Shea Stadium for a flag football game. And the Little Indians are requesting the high school cafeteria for a Christmas night with special needs families.
All right. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the facility request as presented to us.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I will say that pools in public schools, at least here in the greater Cincinnati area, are few and far between. So it's for that reason that our own school district, we host like 90% of our meets, because not many schools have a functioning competition level pool. So any other discussion?
Yes, and the other schools are very grateful for us.
They are very grateful.
We're lucky.
Yeah. Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Abstain? Right.
Oh, because of Little Indians.
Little Indians. I think. Or yes.
Yeah.
I think I have to abstain.
I don't know if I abstained when we approved the Women's Club Christmas dinner.
It's okay.
Regardless, it passes.
Yeah.
I'm not in charge of the Christmas dinner committee.
All right, with those approved, we'll move on to section 7 in our agenda. This is the Finance Committee report, and I'd like to turn the floor over to our district treasurer, Mrs. Camphouse.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the agenda, the financial reports, the CFO report, and change order listings are attached for your approval. 7.02 are permanent appropriations, and 412 certificates, just our budget for the year. 7.03, amended certificate of estimated resources. That's our amended revenue estimates for the current year. 7.04, the 5-year forecast and assumptions for your approval, and I will submit it to ODE next week. 7.05, request to file a modified tax budget. This continues our tax budget process from prior years. 7.06, Klingers surveys to survey Sharpsburg's views and Williams properties for future construction. 7.07, then and now purchase orders for approval. There are 2 of them. 7.08, we have some donations. $100 from our Norwood Alumni Association to the Montessori Garden Project. $241 from Norwood Alumni to the middle school for transportation. $500 from Mary and Tom Williams to the high school marching band. And $10,000 from Mr. Pat Taylor to the performing arts program at the high school. Mr. Taylor is a 1950s Norwood graduate with fond memories of his time at Norwood High School, and he wished to give back to the programs he so enjoyed. We thank all of our donors for their generosity. 7.09, Sharpsburg and View Elementary's beautification and playground scope of work. You're approving the lot plans, the scope of work and words, and cost estimates. This work will be bid out this winter for summer construction. We will be paying for these improvements with leftover bond money. And then 7.10, approval of the scope and estimates for View and Williams roof replacements, the high school boiler replacement, and a district-wide security project. We will be using ESSER money for some of these projects, and this security project will be partially funded by the state's new security grant that we were awarded a couple of months ago. And that is all I have for finance.
Thank you, Mrs. Camphouse. I would like to make a motion that we approve the finance items 7.01 through 7.10 as presented to us.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
I'm really excited about the Norwood View in Sharpsburg stuff starting this summer, and always want to remind people that money's from the bond money that we sold, the bonds, was that just last year? And there's rules, and we have to spend it, and we have to spend it on certain things too, right?
That's exactly right, yes.
So we're very careful about what we do, and that money did not just come out of nowhere. It's from a very specific thing.
That's right.
So
And we have time demands to meet, so the clock is ticking.
that's right. So we've got to do something with it.
I'd like to personally thank Mary and Tom Williams and Mr. Pat Taylor for their donations to our school district. That is absolutely heartfelt and very, very grateful for that. Any other discussion? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Barica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
All right, with those approved, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. This is item number 8. This is a board member appointment. So this is the appointment to the Great Oaks Career Campus Governing Board. This is a 3-year appointment. I would now like to open the floor up for nominations.
I would like to make a nomination.
Go for it.
I nominate Amber Ballard for the Great Oaks Liaison. She's been doing a really great job there and really great work, and she needs to continue that good work.
All right. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, I would like to make a motion that we approve the nominee presented to us.
I second it.
All right. Any discussion on this?
I would like to present my credentials to the board, if that's possible.
Sure.
Being passed down is actually a letter of recommendation from our current vice president and our chair of the governing board, vocalizing her support for my maintenance, or my maintaining my seat on the board. And I have a prepared statement that I'd like to give. It has come to my attention that some may feel that there is a disparity in my qualifications to continue serving in my current capacity as the Great Oaks Liaison. I wish to dispute that claim and put to rest any doubt on that matter. I have been serving the families of Norwood as the Great Oaks Liaison with distinction for the last 4 years. I have moved into various positions of leadership during that time through the mentoring, support, and continued encouragement of my fellow Oaks committee members and our leadership team. Some of the responsibilities have included being appointed as a committee chairperson, a co-chairperson, and have served in that capacity for the last 2 years. I'm a founding member of our Diversity and Unity Committee, helping review and approve curriculums for programs like our fire, EMT, police, healthcare fields, as well as working with our contractors for building improvements to all 4 of our campuses. Not to mention the relationships I've been able to cultivate over the last few years allow me to bring the needs of our students to people in power, like our government, our governor, our lieutenant governor, and various state representatives and senators. My 16-year background working in education with a focus in special needs services, ADA law, autism education, IEP creation and implementation, as well as deaf culture, give me a unique perspective that no one else on our 35-member board brings to the table. If it isn't enough to prove my qualifications, I also serve on the Southwest Ohio Regional Board and currently hold 2 state appointments. Because of the leadership at OSBA choosing me, they felt they could rely on me to do those positions and recommended me for both of them. I did not apply for them. The experiences that I have gained from those around me is fundamental to my continuing efforts for Norwood students, especially to those who wish to follow an alternative graduation pathway offered through Great Oaks. I believe that as a duly elected board member with my credentials and experience, and with the support from my fellow members, I am more than qualified to continue the work that I have been doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ballard. Are there any other discussion items? So I will say that I appreciate the letter recommendation, and I do appreciate your words for your qualifications, and you do have many qualifications. However, like I do in my professional career, when I look at a position, I always want to either hire or appoint the best person for that position. And looking at what the Great Oaks listed themselves as looking for in the appointed members to their board, there are some individuals in this community who did express some interest in this that tick every box. And I know that person or those persons were not nominated tonight, but I would, if they were nominated, I would not, I'd be voting for them. That's not to say that I don't think you're doing a great job or you wouldn't do a great job. I think you're doing a fantastic job. It's just a matter of always looking at, on the qualification side, who is the best fit for the job, in my opinion. And for that, I will be voting no on this nomination. But I will heartfully accept the will of this board, as I do in any vote. And I will support the nominee in any way that I can once they're appointed. So that's all I have to say on that. Is there any other comments?
I'll say that I'll be voting exuberantly for Amber Ballard because Great Oaks recognizes her excellence. OSBA recognizes her excellence. She is super qualified, and I wouldn't want anyone else doing this, and she has quite the passion for doing it.
Thank you, Alice.
You're welcome.
All right, any other comments for discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood,
No.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Ms. Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
No.
With that, the nominee is appointed to the Great Oaks Career Campus Governing Board. Since we've already had our public comment, we're going to move on in our agenda to section 10. This is the report section, and 10.01 is board announcements. Any board member have anything that they would like to share?
I have an announcement.
Absolutely.
Coming up on the 5th of December, we have the mammogram unit that'll be parked out in front of the middle school from 12 to 3. I would encourage this board and our leadership teams to offer the opportunity for our teachers in the high school and middle school especially to be given either their planning bell period, or if someone can watch their classroom long enough so that our teachers could maybe step outside if they need that service as well, because they're right out front during the school day. But I encourage all community members who may need access to mammogram services to please go get checked. It's extremely important. Even if you don't think that you're old enough to get it done, early detection is very important. And I highly encourage that partnership with our health department and Children's Hospital and University Hospital for those continued testing services that they're providing.
I did this mammogram truck was in our parking lot in July, and I did it.
Yeah, it's a great service being provided to our community, and I want people to take advantage of it and continue to come and use it.
Yes, thank you, Amber, for saying that. And just, I'll go on the record to say, I just entered my second year of the NED stage, which stands for no evidence of disease. So I am a big supporter of early detection. So please do take care of that if you need to take care of that. It saves lives.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ballard.
Did you have other ones?
Just that one.
Oh, I was going to say, on Monday, while we were in Columbus at the OSBA conference, Mr. Doggett came to the high school. He is an alumni. Did you guys catch what year he was? It's like 1947, I think. I might not be accurate on that. Like, I think he graduated from here in 1947, and he wanted to have lunch here, which is the cutest thing ever. And I was sent pictures, and he had the biggest smile. It was adorable. And he, actually, you know, Becca, who was up here, she posed for a picture with him in the lunchroom. Like, it looked like she was eating lunch with him and a bunch of other kids. it was really neat.
Fantastic.
You said that was Friday?
Monday, well, we were.
Monday when we were gone.
Because they were telling me, oh, it's Monday, you can come Monday, and I didn't even think, I will be at the conference Monday, I can't go.
All right, any other board
We also
announcements?
say we went to OSBA conference, and it was super crazy awesome.
We did?
Yes, we did. There were, what, over 7,000 attendees there with, was it hundreds of seminars, so a lot of learning opportunity. It's always a worthwhile event to go. I heard the delegate session was a little spicy.
Got a little, yeah, a little exciting.
It got a little nuts in there.
Got a little nuts.
So,
John Lithgow came to speak as our closing ceremony person, and he performed a song that he does with his kid performances. I got his autograph in one of his children's books and a picture with him. He's a very nice guy, and it was cool meeting him, and it was a unique opportunity to hear him speak. He was talking about a new initiative for the arts that he's a founder of. He's actually a product of Ohio Public Schools, and he lives in California where he's starting the initiative, but we should be seeing something from him next year supporting the arts. So it was really cool.
fantastic. With that, we'll move on to 10.02. This is the superintendent's report. I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent Ronan.
Thank you, President Atwood. I have several items tonight, the first being the Cincinnati Youth Collaborative had their Dream Makers event at Music Hall on October 27th, and 2 of our former students were being honored and continuing to receive scholarships from CYC. Ian Davis from the class of 2022, and he goes to SUNY College of Environmental Science in New York. And Dahlia Khalil, class of 2021. She attends UC, and she is receiving the Jack Geiger Scholarship. And she did a wonderful job speaking at the event. And in fact, she took a selfie with her mother, who is an educational aide at Sharpsburg Elementary. The second item I'd like to talk about is Norwood View did their wonderful Veterans Day a celebration last Thursday. As you can see, some of the veterans are up on stage, and there were students who gave some wonderful speeches honoring the veterans. The children all lined the hall. There's some darling young children waving flags during the parade. And the students had made some great artwork that lined the hallways as the parade walked through. So it was overall a lovely event. And in fact, Mr. Yates came back just to see everyone. So it was just extra special. Now, my next item is this is the annual food service report. You know, Norwood is part of a consortium with several other small districts and parochial schools that provide services. So Milford Food Services wanted to make sure that we all saw what they're providing for our youngsters. You know, last year was very difficult with supply chain issues, and we oftentimes, even though it was on the menu, when chicken nuggets were on the menu, we had to have hamburgers, depending on what was shipped in. This year has been so much better. They're actually able to put menus out. They've always tried to stick with the nutritional standards, however, that the federal government puts out. As you can see, with fruits, grains, vegetables, and protein, and milk every day. Now, I think the most interesting slide in this whole presentation is the number of lunches and how many students ate breakfast, how many snacks were provided at all of our schools. So that's pretty impressive when you look at that over the course of 183 days that our children are with us. Milford will also be doing, they didn't do our summer program in 21, but they did in 22, and they will continue to do that this summer. The good news is there is this year the Pay Schools Parent Portal, where parents can pay for additional items. So if you buy the main entree, then you can buy snacks and cookies, etc. with the parent portal, and parents can load monies onto that, set up restrictions, and it's all working great this year with the menus, which is a great addition because last year we struggled with that. So things are moving along with our food service program with Milford Exempted Village Consortium that we are a part of. So there you go. There's our children, and they say thank you. It's their pleasure to serve us. And so we've had a much, much better year this year. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Ronan. You know, if the board will allow me, I wanted to go back and add one more thing to the board announcements, if that's okay. Sure. So while we were in Columbus, we all had an opportunity to go to a luncheon with our athletic director, Mr. Chuck Richardson. The luncheon was being held by the OIAAA, which is the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association. And the OIAAA was honoring Chuck at that luncheon as one of the athletic directors of the year for the state of Ohio. So I just wanted to congratulate Chuck for that honor, and it's much well deserved.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you for remembering.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I don't have the picture to put up on the screen.
Okay.
I just gave the picture
We
to
can
Gwen.
hold up our phones.
It's on our phones if anybody wants to see it.
And then 10.03, so was that part of your report, Mary? Special events and food service? I have it as a
Yes.
separate-
Yes, we just, yes, it is.
All right. So we'll move on to 10.04, which is the Great Oaks report, and I'll turn the floor over to board member Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. President. This month, we discussed our 5-year forecast with our current treasurer, Ben Van Horn. We do have a new treasurer that was appointed to start in January with us. That's Brian Rave, and he actually served as one of the treasurers here in Norwood previously. But he will be taking over in January, and he was present for this meeting as well. We discussed our 23-24 school year application process. We're going to be switching to be a more equitable access process for selection for students. It'll be more of a lottery style, which is standardizing the state's requirements for career tech. So that way, if we have more than enough applicants than we do spaces, then that lottery would be drawn so that students wouldn't be excluded based on a timeline for getting in their applications. We also we're able this week to finalize our diversity and unity survey, and we're supposed to launch that at our December 8th meeting, which I'm really proud of. I've been working very hard on it. Scarlet Oaks has an updated secure entryway, and our board members were able to tour that facility at our last meeting, and similar updates are coming to our Diamond Oaks campus as well. So we are making really good strides for our security access points. We have 2 students that I'd like to recognize. Selena Hayden, she's in our early childhood focused department. She received job placement at the All About Kids in Oakley, so I'm very proud of her. And Caitlin Zimpelman, who is a vet assistant, she got placement at the Animal Hospital of Mount Lookout. So to congratulate our 2 students for that. We also have our National Career Tech Conference, and I'm one of the delegates that'll be serving for that conference coming up on November 30th. And lastly, I just wanted to give a big thank you to Mr. Al Long, who is present here today. He is a representative from the Oaks as well as the North College Hill School Board, and he came out to support my appointment this evening. So thank you, Al. And that concludes my report.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Ballard. We'll move on to 10.05, the Norwood Community Television Board Report, and I'd like to turn the floor over to Vice President Cole.
Thank you, Mr. President. So NCT, the after-school club, they had some excitement. They got to do an on-location shoot, and I hope I get this right. We had some technical difficulties, so I had to handwrite this. I think it's Nelthers Farm, Nelthers, I think, so I'm sorry if I have that wrong, but it's a pumpkin patch in Kentucky. So they welcomed our after-school club there to film part of their movie or whatever it is they're working on in their pumpkin patch and corn maze. And Tyler was sharing with me that they actually left it open for an extra week to allow our after-school program to come in and film what they wanted to film. So that was nice of them to leave that open. Tyler also said that as the grand finale, the folks at the pumpkin patch were kind enough to let our students smash all of their pumpkins. So I'm sure that was a sight to behold. So Tyler said they were there for about an hour, but they got a whole lot done. And he said usually it takes much longer. So he said the kids were quite efficient, and he was very proud of them for getting that done. And Tyler wanted to give a shout out to Mrs. Laura Ferguson for helping, as well as Sheila Faust, and for Mary Ronan for approving that so that they could go. And this was the Monday group. I also heard from Tyler, if you'll recall in the past, we said there are 2 sessions because there was so much interest for this club. So this was the Monday group that attended, and he said the Tuesday club's starting to lose a little steam. So if your kid's part of the Tuesday group, encourage them to participate in that so we don't lose that. And Tyler also said, obviously winter sports are picking up, and the first basketball game will be this Friday. So be watching for the winter sports. So that concludes my NCT report.
Thank you, Vice President Cole.
Neltner.
What is it?
Neltner.
Neltner?
I work with the family.
Oh, you do?
actually. Yeah, I know the family. They're fantastic.
Okay. We were on the phone, and he said that he sent it, but I didn't get it. So
Yeah, but
I was just,
Neltner Farms, it's a pretty big one down there, but yeah, they're fantastic.
well, we appreciate them.
I'll tell Rob.
So go get your pumpkins there next year.
All right, 10.06, the OSBA legislative report, and I would like to turn it over to Board Member Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I mean, Mike might be able to speak a little bit to this as well with the delegate meeting, but I think House Bill 70 was probably the biggest ticket causing issues this past week, but it was removed down to 2 lines that basically took everything down that we were talking about recently regarding teachers needing to report even more things ahead of time. So giving access to all materials, everything that they would have to do curriculum-wise, everything that they're planning for the entire year would have to go on extra early. And that whole thing was up for debate for hours. And it finally got reduced to basically 2 lines that says that we won't hinder parental access, which we already have 4 rules on the book anyway. There is no reason for that to have even come to the floor. We don't hinder parental access to any materials whatsoever. So I'm not sure why they were even debating it in the first place, but now it's just simple. We're not going to hinder access, and that was it. So it came down to that in the final hours. Other than that, that's what kind of takes over my brain at the moment. Mike, if you remember any others.
There was the term limits one, right?
Yes. Lord, I think, was that before? That was before. And it did not pass.
Did not pass.
It did not pass, no.
So
yeah, thank you.
OSBA is going to oppose.
Correct. The delegates voted it down, so it is null.
Okay.
So it didn't get voted to be tabled, it got voted down completely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right.
I'm still blurring from this week's, all of it is still going.
And then finally, 10.07, our Avenues for Success report, and I'd like to turn the floor over to Board Member Mrs. Rarica.
Thank you. From Laura Ferguson, in charge of our Avenues for Success, she says, as of today, we have 100 students in grades 6 through 12 enrolled, and we will kick off our Weekend Warrior program at the elementary programs beginning Thanksgiving break. The program will offer our virtual programs and hands-on program, as well as homework completion and family reading. Families can earn points towards a family zoo pass. And that's all she is.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Rarica. That concludes all of our board reports. The next item on our agenda is section 11. It's meeting notification. So future meetings. So we have coming up in December, Tuesday, December 6th, at 6 p.m. at the Board of Education office on Williams Avenue. And that's for our committee meeting. And then our regular board meeting Thursday, December 15th here at the mini auditorium here at the high school. I'd like to make a motion that we approve future meeting notification.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Um,
We good with those dates?
I will still be at the conference I won't be back yet. I'm going to visit some
For
family.
which one?
Which one?
For the 6th.
For the 6th?
Yeah, I
Hey,
won't.
if you want to make that on a different date, I wouldn't mind. I have another thing, but I usually move the other thing.
When are you scheduled back?
I'm back later that week, but I don't have a specific flight yet, so I wouldn't be able to nail it down.
Okay.
If you want to do the 13th and 15th the same week, I know that can be rushed, but I would be
The
back.
13th is no
Okay.
for me.
If not,
Women's Club Christmas
you
party.
don't need me for the committee. I don't really have anything for next month's committee meeting.
Right.
If you want to keep the 6th, I'm fine with that. I won't be in attendance. I'm visiting my family after the conference. They live nearby, so.
Sure.
Does that
We're
conflict with
allowed to still have her participate remotely, correct?
I don't think I'll be available.
You won't be available?
During that time.
Is
Okay.
that a conflict
All
with
right.
Alice too?
If I am, I can always notify Tyler and let him know to
Oh, the
to tap
13th.
me in.
Okay.
Well, why don't we just go ahead and approve these dates on paper now?
Okay.
And then when you kind of nail down your schedule.
Do you need me for next month's committee?
We don't, but
Okay.
I'd like to have everybody present if they can.
Right.
So I'm willing to accommodate for everybody's schedule if that's possible. I know with my travel schedule, sometimes it's not
Yeah.
possible, so.
What about Monday, the 12th? Would that be doable for you, Alice? I know you said you couldn't do the 13th.
The 13th is the Women's Club Christmas party,
Oh.
but the 12th is fine.
Would the 12th?
Oh, no, the 12th is not fine for me.
We'll just,
Sorry,
We'll leave
I'm
it alone.
We'll leave
remembering
it.
now.
I'm trying here.
all right. So I'll make a motion that we approve the future meeting dates for December 6th and December 15th.
I'll second.
All right. And we've already done a whole lot of discussing on this.
I'm good, yeah.
Mrs. Camp House, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
All right. With that, we're to our last item, and that's adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.